Alright, shalom aleichem rabotai, bruchim abאים to our Wednesday class on Yalkut Yosef. We have finished the dinim of Hashkamat HaBoker, we have finished the dinim of Tikkun Chatzot, and we started touching the dinim of how to get dressed in the morning. Din Levishat B'Gadim Vikisui Harosh, covering our head as well. We'll see these halachot today. I think it's a delicious class. These are the type of halachot that are easier to relate to, that I find very interesting. Who are we to give numbers to halachot? They should all be interesting, but some it's easier to connect to. So let's take a look at Bezat Hashem. Ilan just joined us. Igal just joined us. Simon just joined us after,
How are you,
long time no
Ziv?
see. Bruchim Hashavim.
Ziv, I hope everything okay over there.
That's the Hashem. We cannot complain. This is the Holy Land. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Hashem should protect us. And it's good that you're reminding us, let this be for the Atzlacha of Am Yisrael in the war, for our soldiers, that all the Shivuim, the captives, should come back home, and all our defense forces should be protected. Bezat Hashem. All right, let's dive right in. I'm in the halachot of getting dressed in the morning. Halacha Hey. כשלובש בגדיו או רוחץ גופו, when a person gets dressed or washes his body, נכון שיקדים תחילה את הראש. Meaning when someone gets dressed, the first thing that he should cover is his head. So if you wake up in the morning and your kippah is not on, put your kippah. When you go into the shower, this is very interesting. The first thing you should wash, your head. Wash that before anything else. Why? מפני שהראש מלך על כל האיברים. The head is considered a king on all the body parts. They give respect to the king. וכן יקדים את הימין. And when you have a debate between starting to wash something right or something left, what do we start with always? The right. יקדים את הימין. שכן מצינו בכמה מתורות בתורה שהימין חשובה, because we found in a few places in the Torah that the right hand is important. Now some of you are going to ask, if the right hand is so important, then how come tefillin we all put on our left hands, or at least those of us that are righties? If right hand is so important, so he's going to touch tefillin in a few minutes. But when we take off the clothing and when we take off our shoes, first we take off the left side. This is, I guess, not so relevant to shirts and pants, but to shoes, you can see this, where you first take apart the left side and the left shoe, and then you leave the right for the end. But all of this is with shoes that you kind of like loafers that you slide into. He's going to open a topic now of shoes that are with laces. The halacha over there is different. Matin Baruch Haba. So we're touching the halachot of how to put on our clothing and our shoes. So we'll see the right way to put on shoes. Shenoelet min alav, when someone puts on shoes, in al tchila min al yamin. First, put on your right shoe, velo iksherenu, but you don't tie. So I have two loose shoes with laces. I put my right foot in, I don't tie. Then I move to the left, he says, I make a knot over there, and then I go back to the right and finish making the knot on the right. I don't know if you know the story, but maybe, I don't know, over 20 years ago, there was something in Israel called Ason HaMesokim, the horror story of the helicopters. A helicopter with a bunch of soldiers, and there was a crash, it exploded, a lot of soldiers passed away. One of the guys that was supposed to be on that helicopter told a story that day. They said, how come you weren't there? What luck did you have? He said, I learned the halacha of how to tie shoelaces. And the halacha said that you have to put in your right foot, then your left, then tie the left, then tie the right. And I remember that I was in a rush, so I put on my shoes in the wrong way. So as we were going to the helicopter, I said, wait, I have to go retie my shoes. And he took off his shoes and retied them. And he says, by the time I was back, the helicopter already left. Now, we don't know Cheshbonot Shamayim, why his life was saved, why his life was not saved. We don't know, but that's the story he told. So I'm telling it to you, the importance of even putting on your shoelaces, there's importance to that. The rabbis explain, how do they go into such detail with us? Come on. It's important to Hashem that I tie my shoelace first, right? Then, come on, Hashem is greater than that, no? So someone once gave an example about sending an email, a very important email with top information. So the guy puts in the address and he sends it, and it doesn't go. And he calls up the guy, why is my email not getting? So he says, repeat the email. And repeated the whole email. I'll make the long story short. And one little dot or letter was missing in the whole email, and all the info couldn't go through. So even the most small detail has such a big impact. We can't see it in Shammai, but to Hashem, yes, it is important. All right. ויש אומרים שהוא כדי להכניע את היצר שהוא בשמאל. Another explanation why we give right preference, because he says the left side represents the yetzer hara, the evil inclination. So we want to show that the right hand or the right side is more important than the left, and therefore we give the kavod to the right side. He brings here another opinion of how to put on shoelaces, but we conclude that the way that I just mentioned, when you have shoelaces, that's the halacha lema'aseh, the way that everybody used, even though, if you do it in other ways, there are opinions like that, but the opinion that, the Jewish people do is we do right foot, left laces, and then right laces, assuming that they're laces. All right. Now we get to the topic of tefillin. As we said.
Ziv, just a question. Does it matter lefty or righty in that scenario?
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Chazak u'baruch. Let's see. So first of all, let's ask. Iter shemeniach tefillin. Someone that is about to put on his tefillin, and he is a lefty. What does he do? So first of all, why do we put on tefillin on our left hand? If we just explained that the right hand is so important, anybody know what's the reason why tefillin is put on the left hand for those of us that are
closer to our heart?
That's a nice idea, because really they say and they say this is against the heart and this is against the mind. It's a nice idea. We accept.
Maybe more practically, it's just if I'm a righty, it's going to be hard for me to wrap with my left hand. So I'm using my right hand for it.
I want to tell you something about that. That makes sense. I was raised at home in a way of no one paid attention to how I was eating with my utensils. But in my grandma's house, you had to hold a knife on the right and the fork on the left. That's the right way of eating. It was very proper. And I always ate the opposite way because it was much more comfortable to hold the fork on the right. You're used to using the fork. And I remember one summer I spent Aliyah Shalom, my grandmother's house. What a tzaddiket lady that was. And I said, you know what? I'm on her table. Let me try. And every day I was forcing myself to eat with the knife in the right hand and the fork in the left hand. I want to tell you that after a month, I got it down. And until today, I eat like that. And honestly, it's much more comfortable because your right hand is stronger. It's easier to cut with the knife. I don't have to switch hands when I want to cut. What am I trying to say? Why did I bring you this story? Because you could say it's more comfortable, but honestly, whatever you do a lot, you get used to and it becomes comfortable. So although it makes sense, but I don't think that's enough reason to keep a mitzvah just because of comfort, right? And let's see what Chachamim say. They say it's an explicit pasuk. The pasuk says, "Vaya leot al yadecha." And Chachamim are dorshim. What is yadecha? Yad keha, the hand that is weak. In Hebrew, they translate to the hand that is weak, and therefore they decided that the hand that is usually weak is left, so that's the side that you put on tefillin. But of course, what you said is right. When it's your left, it's easier to put it with your right hand. All the answers, I think, are good, but we have a source here. It's more important that you have a source from a pasuk than logic. Logic is good when we don't have a pasuk, but if someone comes with a different logic, he could break that. But once you have a pasuk, you cannot argue with a pasuk. The pasuk says it loud and clear. So even though everything is on the right, when it comes to tefillin, we switch it to the left. Did my camera just disconnect? All right. Or did I freeze? Guys.
Oh, we hear you. Your camera disconnected. Now
Okay, we're back. Baruch Hashem. It's been a while. Nice to see you all. All right. So let's continue. So someone that's a lefty. So the halacha with tefillin is that if you're a lefty, you have to put your tefillin on the right hand. You do the opposite. Why? Because there's a pasuk. You have to put it al yadecha, yad keha, the weaker hand. That's why the weaker hand, in that case, would be on the right hand. A person like that, he says, still, in al et min alav kmo kol adam, he still has to put on his shoes like the way we explained before. So Ilan, this answers your question, but not completely, because he's going to differentiate between a person that his hand is a lefty to a person that his leg and hands, or just leg, are lefty. Those are in a different category. Let's see why. So for tying, some say that person should tie his left like any other person. And some say, no, you have to switch, just like in tefillin. He says, but really, ha'ikar, the real halacha is like the first opinion. That what? That you don't switch. When your hand is stronger on the left, still the shoes you have to put on the same. All of this is why, is because we're not dealing with stuff that have to do with the hand. We're dealing with shoes that has to do with the feet. He says, however, iter yad v'regel or iter regel, but if someone, his leg, either hand and leg or just leg, but as long as the leg is a lefty, in that case, he says, then he flips the order. So really, it depends on the leg. I don't know if you play soccer, but if you kick with your left leg better than your right leg, then halachically, regarding shoes, then you're considered a lefty and you will make the switch.
Leave another question. When you
Harosh.
step back in the Amidah, when you're finishing, and you're lefty, do you go with the right foot or left foot?
Oh, what a question. What a question. Honestly, I have to look into that. I don't know. But my hunch would be that when we are reversing, we're not reversing for us. In the Amidah, you're in front of Borei Olam. So you move backwards left because it's Hashem's right. So I think that's the way, but I'll take that as homework. Bezat Hashem b'li neder, the next week. It's a very good question. Better to look into it than to answer from a hunch. So I'll try to get an answer next. All right, if we have no more questions, we'll continue. He brings here a unique case of a shoe that on the same shoe, you have a knot on the left and a knot on the right. Each shoe has two knots. So he says, what knot should you do first? We know the shoe order, right, left, and then left and right. But now that I'm in left, I have two knots. What should I do, the right or the left? So in that case, you always start with the left and end with the right, because we always want to end with the right, just like when we end with the right shoe and we end with the right knot. Okay. I don't know if any of you ever had a shoe that has two knots on it, but I guess these things exist. Isha, now what happens with a woman? יש אומרים שכיוון שאינה מניחה תפילין, ואף מוחין בידה שלא תניח גם אם רצונה בכך, some say that since a woman doesn't put on tefillin, and even if she wanted to put on tefillin, we would stop her. נועלת וקושרת של ימין תחילה. She has to put on her right foot first and make the knot on the right foot first, and then move to the left and make the knot on the left. ויש אומרים, but some say that a woman has to do the same thing that a man, meaning לקשור של מנעל שמאל תחילה. She should do it like a man, right, left, left, right. So when he brings two יש אומריms, usually יש אומרים שכיוון, ויש אומרים. So, hold on, is it that יש ויש? Yeah. So this is halacha and pesika. We need to know, I'll give you a basic ruling when you look at the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, a lot of the times he's going to give an opinion, and then he's going to say, but some say. When that happens, then the halacha is like the first opinion. Because halacha ki stam, it's called. It's the stam opinion, the opinion that was brought before you brought the second opinion. It's called stam. Stam veyesh, halacha ki stam. When I have a first opinion and a second opinion, the halacha is like the first opinion. We need these because a lot of the times you read Shulchan Aruch and he brings a few opinions. You want to know the halacha. What am I supposed to do? Tell us what to do. So that's why the great rabbis, Rav Ovadia and Rav Yitzchak Yosef, and the rabbis of our generation are opening up the secrets of the halacha. It's not left in a question mark. There are rules of halacha. He wrote in a certain way, and we have to know the rules to know the halacha. So if he just says generally, some say like this, veyesh omrim, and some say otherwise, then we go according to the first opinion. But if he says, yesh omrim, there is an opinion, and there is another opinion, as opposed to some say. If he says there is an opinion, but there is an opinion, in that case, you go according to the second opinion. It's called yesh veyesh, halacha keveyesh. When there's yesh and a veyesh, opinion and another opinion, then you go according to the second one. I hope it wasn't too complicated. But in our case, since it's a yesh veyesh, which means there is an opinion that a woman has to do it this way, but there is an opinion that she has to tie it like a man. Therefore, I would say, according to the rules of the Shulchan Aruch, that's what the woman has to do. She has to do it like a man. But
Aziz, why did he say that they would stop a woman from putting tefillin?
Oh, okay.
Sorry
So-
if it's I know it's
so
I know it's
let
it
me
might be
read
a
his
bigger,
language.
bigger
Let me-
topic to discuss, but
let's read his
Okay.
language. Isha, a woman, יש אומרים שכיוון שאינה מניחה תפילין, a woman is not obligated to put on תפילין, ואף מוחים בידה שלא תניח גם רצונה בכך. There are certain mitzvot that we, when women want to do it, we say, okay, you're not obligated to do it, but it's still good if you do it. If a woman takes arbat aminim and shakes it, she did something good. She doesn't say the bracha. According to the Sephardim, women don't say a bracha on arbat aminim. If a woman wants to sit in the sukkah, even though she doesn't say a bracha because she doesn't have the mitzvah of sitting in a sukkah, but it's good. But certain things, it's not good. Now, he doesn't bring over here why did he write in that language, but it seems like it's accepted that when a woman wants to put on tefillin, we don't really do it. There's a source that the daughter of Shaul would put on tefillin, but there's a whole discussion about that. Either way, the bottom line is that it's accepted that women do not put on tefillin. I guess Chachamim understood that this could open doors that are not comfortable to the Jewish people. I don't know why. I think I should write your questions down because this is good homework as well. Hold on one second. Mama. What was the first question that I also said I'm going to give you an answer?
For Shmona Esrei, when you go back, which foot?
Yeah. Sa'adim l'smali. Very good. Guys, what did you eat today? I like the questions. Okay. So I have a lot of homework. We'll see Be'ezrat Hashem. But the custom is, and there's in fact a group of ladies called Neshot HaKotel that go to the Kotel, they put on the talit, it's like a whole reform kind of thing, and there's a lot of noise where the people in the Kotel do not accept it, and there's a whole discussion, freedom of whatever we want to do, women have rights, and it's become a thing. Sadly, we see minyanim that women want to become more and more involved. We have traditions. Tradition is women don't put on tefillin, but let's see why we stop her if she wants to. All right. Now, he's not talking about when you wake up in the morning and you put on your shoes. That's one halacha. Another halacha is when it's before Shabbat. And now, in honor of Shabbat, I want to change my outfit. I want to change my shoes. So I'm not just taking off my shoes. I'm taking off my shoes for a mitzvah, to become nicer, to honor the Shabbat, lichvod the Shabbat, right? So is there any difference in that case? Let's see. So if you take off your shoes to wear honorable shoes for Shabbat, or the same shoes, but you take them off to clean them for Shabbat, in that case, the rules change. You don't do right, left, left, right. You take off right completely. Why? Because you're doing this for a mitzvah, as opposed to just wearing your shoes because you want to go to work or you want to go ABCD. The only reason I'm taking off my shoes right now is because I'm doing a mitzvah to honor Shabbat. When you do mitzvot, in what hand do you do it and what leg do you do it? The right. And therefore, don't do right, left, left, right. Take off the right, then take off the left. Ve'omnam, however, Erev Yom Kippur comes, and now I need to take off my shoes. But I'm not taking it off to honor Shabbat or for mitzvah. I'm taking it off because I'm doing a inui. I want to wear shoes that are inui, that make me sad. Although today a lot of people wear Crocs and Yom Kippur or sports shoes, which most likely are more comfortable than their leather shoes. But back in the day, leather was the comfort. If you didn't have that, it would be considered uncomfortable. So since I'm wearing a shoe of inui, right, we're not allowed to wear leather shoes on Yom Kippur. In that case, or Erev Tisha B'Av, he says, when I'm changing those shoes, then I do it regularly. I take off the left. If I'm switching shoes on Shabbat, I have to do the right first. Over here, I do it regularly. Why? When I do it for Shabbat, it's for a mitzvah. Over here, I'm doing it to torture myself. Torturing yourself is not a mitzvah, and therefore, that's not the way to do it. Okay. Now he's going to teach us halachot that if someone doesn't be careful with them, it could bring him to forget. So, just so this Chazal discuss what helps our memory and what makes us forget. What time is it? We have time. Baruch Hashem. Izaher mililbosh bet malbushim yachad bepam achat. A person has a shirt and an undershirt that are one inside the other. He says, let me save time. I'm in a rush. I want to wake it to minyan. He swims right into both shirts at one. Can you do that? Well, maybe physically you can do that, but the halacha says, shehadavar kashe leshichicha. This could bring someone to forget. I mentioned a few times the segulot that Rav Meir Eliyahu brings in his book, and Markavot Agaman over here, he brings 10 segulot, 10 actions that a person can do to help his memory, to remember better. But certain things Chachamim teach us make us forget. One of them is wearing 2 clothing items at once. So don't do that. V'yesh omrim, some say that you also have to be careful when you remove the clothing from you, not to remove 2 together. But why? So he says, really, he says, there's an opinion that says, no, you only have to be careful when you wear 2. There's no fear of forgetting when you remove 2 together. So I can take off 2 at once, but I cannot put on 2 at once. He says, but really, since if you take both of them off together, maybe you're going to rewear it. And when you rewear it, you're going to put on 2 together. That's why he doesn't recommend it, so that you don't forget to separate them later. So the recommendation is to do stuff step by step, but the bottom line halacha is that the forgetting comes when you wear 2 clothing items at once, not when you remove them. That's the halacha. Now, I want to point out something regarding putting 2 clothing items together. This is from Yalkut Yosef's comments on the bottom. You guys can see me comfortably. Okay. So there's a Tosafot. There's a Tosafot in Gemara in Masechet Brachot. Where's my Tosafot in Gemara in Masechet Brachot that brings there a midrash, and the midrash says, עד שיתפלל אדם שיכנסו דברי תורה לתוך מאיו, יתפלל שלא ייכנסו מאדמים. What is that Tosafot? That Tosafot is talking about someone that is praying to remember his learning. Hashem, please help me remember my learning. He says, until you're praying to remember that Torah should go into your intestines, letoch me'av, he says, pray that these delicacies won't go into your intestines. In other words, the Tosfot is hinting that by eating delicacies and luxurious foods, that will make you lose your Torah, that will make you forget. So he brings this here as a side topic. Other things that make you forget is enjoying foods too much. Rav Meir Eliyahu in his book, he generally says, enjoying this world too much. The more you separate yourself from the pleasures of this world, you get that memory ability, right? That's what it's called. There's an easy segula, because a lot of us, it's not easy for us to give up on, the pleasures of the world. Baruch Hashem, for a religious person in this world, already he starts at the pleasures are, unless you have the pleasure of Torah, which there's no pleasure like it in the world. But I'm talking about when you're outside of Bet HaMidrash, and a man doesn't have so many pleasures. So if you don't want to take away the pleasure of delicacies, which is recommended for remembering, there's other ways of helping your memory. I heard this from Rav Yitzchak Yosef, the chief rabbi of Israel. When we do the Kiddush on Friday night, we say, Yom HaShishi v'yichulu HaShamayim tzvot v'yichal Elokim b'yom HaShishi melachtו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השישי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך האיש ואדם, כי בוא שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא עמו לעשות, וידעו ומן לחיים, ברוך אתה ברוך והגפן, אשר קדישנו בסתיו ועשנו ושבת חשוב זיכרון למעשה בראשית. He says, when you say that pasuk, a memory of מעשה בראשית, slow down and say the word zikaron. And when you say zikaron, it means memory. So have in mind that this shall help your memory. He says it's a big sigula to help our memory. So next time you're doing Kiddush, when you say the part of zikaron lemaaseh bereshit, slow down a little bit. Boom, you get a chip of memory added into you. Those are the words of the chief rabbi of Israel. Recommended. Okay.
Ziv, it's a 5-minute warning in case you were touching on the parsha.
Today we're not moving to any side direction, okay. but thank you. I see you're alert. Okay, Mizot Hashem. That's good. All right. So now he talks about shoes. So we're not allowed to wear one clothing item with another clothing item on top of it, right? Now he's going to bring something that's relevant to you guys that are hitting the freezing winter in America soon, Mizot Hashem. And sometimes you go to shul on Shabbat and your shoes have this cover, right? It's called in Hebrew ardelaim, like those rubber things that you put on top of your shoes. I do not know what it's called, or whatever those are called. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Are you allowed to put your shoe, let's say you took off your shoe together with that. Now you want to slide in again. I don't have to separate. Can I put those two together? Is that considered wearing two clothing? Is that going to make me forget my learning or not? So he says, it's not considered like wearing two clothing items at once, and therefore the fear of forgetting does not happen when you put those two. I guess clothing means the clothing as opposed to shoes, so that's why he limited the warning. And he brings here a tshuva from Rav Pe'alim. Rav Pe'alim, where do I have it over here? This is a book written by the Ben Ish Chai, Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim. He was the rabbi, the great big rabbi of Baghdad, that until Rav Ovadia Yosef came into the picture, everybody knew halacha according to Rav Ben Ish Chai. They call him a Reach HaTov. Reach, initials Rabbi Yosef Chaim. The good smell, the Reach HaTov. Unbelievable, scary knowledge. He has not only books in halacha, but also books about the Shas, books about Kabbalah, endless amount of books. I don't know how I try to read one book. It's a lifetime to read one. It's unbelievable what he achieved. So he brings the Rav Pe'alim over here. The Rav Pe'alim is a shoot, She'elot v'Tshuvot. They ask him questions. So he wrote a book presenting the questions and the answers that he gave. So over there he was asked regarding changing shoes. Is that considered also something that is a clothing item, or is it separate? And of course, he said, like he brought here Halacha L'Maaseh Rav Yitzchak Yosef, that shoes are not considered a clothing item, and therefore they are not in the Yizirah. That's brought in Rav Pe'alim. What about hats? Someone has a hat with a kippah inside. Took it off. I don't know, whatever. He took a shower. Now he's going out. He doesn't want to wear just a kippah. He wears it with a hat. So he takes the hat with the kippah inside. Whoop. Or if you're a rabbi and they wear the big hats and they have the kippah inside, are they allowed to remove it or put both of them on together? So he talks about this. The Rabbi Chaim Palaji, the great rabbi from Turkey, Izmir, he brings that it is brought in the book called Shara Kavanot. Shara Kavanot is a famous Kabbalah book. The student of Ari HaKadosh Hama'aruch, Rav Chaim Vital, wrote it according to his rabbi's teaching. And over there he brings the kavanot, the kavanah that a person should have when he does different mitzvot. He says, what's the problem? What's the problem with putting on two hats at once? All right. So what's the reasoning behind it? And I think this applies to also the clothing. Why do we need to make a separation? So he says that there's something called or makif. This is a Kabbalistic term. We don't really understand it, but a person has a natural aura around him. All right, some sort of light that we can't see because our eyes are normal eyes, but the tzaddikim, that their eyes are only in Torah all day, they look at a person, they could see his aura, they could see something about him, they feel it, whatever it is. But there's an aura, according to the Kabbalah. It's called Or Makif around us. And when we put two clothing items or two hats or whatever it is, let's see about the hats, together, then maybe it creates a problem with that aura that is around us because, you know, it can't apply through two, whatever that means. And the Shara Kavanot says that once one is inside the other, meaning two shirts, whatever it is, then that Or Makif, that light, doesn't penetrate, it doesn't work. He says, and therefore, it's not good for those that put the tarabush. Now, tarabush, we don't know what a tarabush is today because the rabbis wear normal hats, but maybe tarabush, have you ever seen Rav Kaduri, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, or Baba Sali? They had a different type of hat. It's not like the hats that we have today. It's called a tarabush. So those tarabushes, he says, it's not nice that people wear the kippah together with the tarabush. They have to make the separation for this Or Mekif, this light that surrounds us. All right, we'll finish with one more halakha with the last minute. Lo yaniach et begadav tachat meroshotav beit sheishan. Now he says a person is going to sleep and he doesn't have a pillow, so he takes the shirt that he took off, he folds it and uses it as a pillow. Is that okay? So he says, no, don't use your clothing under your head. For the same reason, because it may cause you to forget. But some say the only problem with clothing is if they're yours. But if you take a shirt that belongs to your friend, your child, or whatever it is that's not yours, and you use it under your head, then that's no problem. He says, but there's a controversy about this, so if it's possible, better not to even use your friend's clothing for that. But this is all when you directly put your head on the clothing. But if you have a pillow and just under the pillow you're putting, let's say, a shirt or something for elevation, no problem. Meaning, bottom line, the only problem is direct contact between clothing, yours or maybe even your friends, under your head. That could make someone forget, and therefore not recommended to do that. And also he concludes, ונכון להיזהר שלא להניח מעליו תחת המיטה לראשתה. Also, when you go to sleep, don't put your shoes under your bed where your head is. Yes, all these things can make a person forget. All right, gentlemen, we're going to conclude here. Zaku Baruch, Tizkul Mitzvot for the questions and the homework you gave me. Hopefully we'll have, with the help of Hashem, answers next week, inshallah.
Thank you,
All the
Ziv.
best. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you, Ziv.
Thank you. You're the
Thank you.
best.
Okay.